Coming to a YouTube channel near you.
Why, hello there, everybody. This is Alethea from Spiritual Street Talk with Alethea Jacob, and I am so delighted that you have joined us and are tuned into this podcast. As you see, I don't have my normal backdrop. I tried to make it so you can see some of the water back there, but I'm actually in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, on a little rest and retreat tour that I've been doing. And it's just amazing to have that energy of the waves and the water and the sky at night, just over the ocean. It's just amazing. So I can highly recommend, if you haven't been to a beach in the recent past, it's definitely worth taking a minute to go and check that out. So we have, hello, Manchester, England. Wow, you're tuned in from afar. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. So as you may notice, Grizz is not on the screen. He is feeling under the weather. And once again, we have a big thank you to Justin for stepping in and producing and pushing the buttons behind the scene to make all this happen. And so we all want to send some extra good mojo, prayers, good energy, healing vibes to Mr. Grizz there, and hope that he starts feeling better soon. And one thing that you can do to help is whenever you're watching any of the Bigfoot outlaw shows on our channel here, is to make sure that you like and subscribe and do all those nice social media things that help it grow. Because the more followers and the more views that we have, it's easier to find sponsors. And of course, donations are always welcome. You can send them in any old way you like. Anyway, so one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I was just feeling particularly grateful to have this opportunity away, is talk about the importance of making time to rest, to reset, to recharge, to rebalance in our lives. Now, even when you have a job that you love and you have family and friends that you love and you have hobbies and sidelines and things that you're doing that just really warm your heart and fill you with joy. If your schedule is go, pretty much nonstop, even if it's things that bring you joy and that are fun to do or meaningful and purposeful to do, it's so important to make sure you take time just to kind of rest, recharge, reset, and make sure that everything is in balance the way it should be, so that you can be enjoying that fullness and the joy in your life. Now, if you're not enjoying your work and you don't have satisfying relationships, and there's really not a lot of time for fun or hobbies or side pursuits, then you especially need to get your butt someplace where you can rest, reset, recharge, and kind of get that balance going, that rebalancing back in your life. Right. So I just wanted to mention that because honestly, you guys know I talk about my life a lot on these podcasts. And for the most part, I love my life. I love being able to share stories. I love being able to teach and share wisdoms and take experiences and make them into something that's interesting, hopefully for you all to listen to, that might inspire you or raise some curiosity or give you some tools to check out. So, it's pretty good. I didn't realize until I got down here how tired I was. I was like, oh, you know what? All that running around, I got here and I was like, just that sitting on the little porch behind me, looking at the ocean, listening to the waves. It was just like, wow, I needed this. And so I'm really glad to be able to be broadcasting from here and hopefully sharing some of that chill beachfront ocean vibe with you to just kind of give you that sense of relax and kind of just take a breath, because so often we don't remember to take that breath. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is I wanted to share some stories. Share stories about something that happened on my drive. here. Yes, I drove from Wisconsin here to South Carolina. I am one of those people that love road trips. I am a road warrior. I put my tunes on, I make phone calls, I meditate, I ponder, I deep think about things as I'm driving. I'm taking in the beautiful scenery of our country, which is so amazing, and diverse depending on where you go. And so as I was driving down, and this was back on Thursday of last week, which was why we had no show because I was on the road. Excuse me. I guess spirit's like, hey, it's Thursday, and we usually prompt you and give you messages. I don't know, maybe something like that. But as I'm driving, I had 3 different spirits kind of pop in one at a time. With messages that I was supposed to deliver to different people. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about each of those scenarios because it was sort of profound, and especially because we had all 3 right in a row. And it left me with a sense of gratitude, but also prompted me of, I have to remember to tell people about this because so often spirit tries to contact us and we just miss it. We're expecting the angel to appear and the bright light in the clouds or somebody to materialize and walk through the walls in this grand fashion. And a lot of times the way that our loved ones in spirit communicate with us isn't anything that grand and glorious. It's actually pretty simple and straightforward. And so I just figured I'm going to share these stories with you, and hopefully it'll inspire you to pay attention to when similar things happen in your life so that you can either get your messages for yourself or for loved ones, or if you happen to be in the field, for a client. So here I am driving, I'm on the interstate, and first a friend of mine who had passed about 5 years or so pops in. And when I say pop in, to me, the way that it happens is sort of in my mind's eye. And as I'm driving, so I'm focused on the road, but kind of off to the side, I just kind of had this impression in my mind's eye of that face of my friend. It just came to my awareness. And I was like, oh, hi, nice to you join me on my journey. And as I'm driving, she says to me, hey, do me a favor. I need you to call my daughter and give her the following message. Tell her how proud I am of her. Tell her I love her. And tell her everything's going to be okay. I hear her. I'm with her. She's going to be fine. So I'm like, I can do that. That's easy. I can make a phone call. So I pick up the phone. I call her daughter. And I didn't get the daughter. I got her voicemail. So I left her the message. Well, a little while down the road, maybe a half hour or so later, she calls me. And she's in tears. And I'm like, what? And she says, well, do you know what today is? And I said, Thursday. She's like, no. It's my birthday. Now, honestly, the last time I had talked to this friend's daughter was a year after she had died, when they had an additional kind of memorial celebration, a life type of thing. It was the last time I've been in touch with her, about 4 or 5 years ago. So I was like, I don't know her birthday. But she said, yeah, today's my birthday. And she said, Mom always called me on my birthday. And she always, if she didn't catch me, she would leave me a message very similar saying, hey, I'm proud of you. I love you, and we'll talk later kind of thing. But she said it was so poignant and profound for her that I called with that message on her birthday from her mother, because she'd been missing her mom. She'd been stressed out, really busy. And it was just the perfect gift from spirit to be able to call her and basically have that contact with her mom on that birthday day, like she had done for years and years and years. And so, of course, I'm crying as she's crying, I'm crying. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. I had no clue, right? But that's sometimes how spirit works with us. We don't know the significance of what seemed to be a very simple, uplifting message, but the timing of the message made it spooky, cool, and very profound. So I'm just feeling grateful. I'm like, yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me be of service. I was just having a good drive, and I'm tooling down the highway, and about an hour later, a different friend who had passed about 7 or 8 years ago pops in. I see her face in my mind's eye. I hear her voice saying, hey, she wants me to call her daughter. And I'm like, don't tell me it's her birthday too. It wasn't. But she says, hey, I want you to call my daughter and give her the following message. And it was, hey, trust your intuition. You made the right decision. Everything's going to be fine. Rock and roll, baby. It was just like very straightforward, but it was pretty clear. So I'm like, oh, I can call her. I have her number. So I called her up. I delivered the message. And again, it was met with, oh my God, I can't believe you're calling me now. Had just been thinking and talking to mom, asking for a sign. I had quit my job a couple of weeks ago. I was starting to second guess myself. And I was asking mom to give me a sign, give me a message to let me know I did the right thing and everything's okay. And then here I am calling her, right? So again, on the surface, the message didn't seem like anything too profound, but for the person receiving it, it was perfect timing. It was very profound. And it was this wonderful continuity of her mother's love and message of spirit coming through and hitting her just at the right time, right after she had asked for it. So I thought, okay, that was cool. I'm like, I'm great. I'm driving over. My energy is just, I'm floating. I'm so happy to be of service in that way. So then a little further down the road, a different client pops in spirit, and he's in spirit. And I had read for his son and his wife a couple years ago, and then again about a year ago. Just kind of after he had passed suddenly, they wanted to reach out, and they knew I was a medium. So they asked me to tune in and see what I could get. And I'd helped them in the past, but I'm not big friends with the family, with the wife necessarily. I'm more friends with the son. But I was like, well, he pops in. And I'm like, oh, hi there. How can I help you? Again, I'm paying attention on the road, but in my mind's eye, I see his face, his energy, and I know he's, who it is. And so I'm like, okay. And he's like, look, you need to call my wife and give her the following message. And it was one of these, get on with it, stop making excuses, you're going to be fine. It's time for you to have time for you and to have fun and to play and to be able to spend more, to travel and to be able to be with the kids and the grandkids. And I'm like, okay. Now, the only reason I had her number is because she was a client. And usually after a session with a client, I'll make sure I have their number and they have mine in case there's any questions, that pop up afterwards or whatever. But the last time I had talked to this lady was at a session almost a year ago. And so I'm like, well, okay, I'll call, whatever. I try to be obedient to the promptings of spirit when it's something clear and it's easy enough to do, right? They weren't telling me, hey, fly over to England and go stand in front of Big Ben and wait for the third person to come along, right? I didn't have to do anything too hard. I'm just driving and I can make a phone call. Easy peasy. So I call this woman and I give her the message, and again was greeted with the, oh my God, I can't believe you called. The timing was perfect. She had just been out to lunch with a friend and she had been talking about, could she possibly retire? Could she afford it? Could it make sense? She'd love to travel. She'd love to see the kids and grandkids. And she also kind of asked in spirit for her husband to, could you give me a sign? Can you tell me what to do? You always, knew what was best. And here his spirit is coming and giving messages and energy, totally giving her an answer to her question and what she needed to hear. So as you can imagine, like, okay, 3 of these in less than a couple hours time as I'm driving down the road, I just felt amazing being able to be of service and help in this way. But I also realized that, if I was not in that kind of calm, meditative, I'm just driving and open to see what pops in kind of mode, I might have missed those messages, right? I might have been aware very briefly, I would have thought like, oh, I'm just thinking of my friend who died, right? Instead of being open to, oh, wait, their energy is here. I wonder what's going on. Oh, there's a message. There's something they'd like me to do. So one of the things I want to really encourage y'all to do is when you suddenly have somebody pop into your mind, right? So you haven't been thinking about that friend or relative in a long time, and whether they're living or dead, for that matter, if they just pop into your mind, kind of tune into their energy and see, like, how can I help you? You know, do you have a message for me? Do you have a message for somebody else? Just try to engage with that, because the reason, most likely, that you are thinking of that person is because their energy is by you, is close in your aura, in your energy field. And if it is a loved one in spirit, they most likely do have a message for you or for somebody else. And so, you know, quieting ourselves a little bit and just tuning in and asking can sometimes be a way to get really cool information that we wouldn't normally get. You know, I like to think a lot of times I think about angels a lot, right? And these benevolent interdimensional beings, whether they are guides or teachers or loved ones in spirit or aliens or angels or beings that we just don't have a name for, right? I like to think about the roles that they play and how they kind of pop into our energy as well. And it's so easy to miss if we're in our running 100 miles an hour with our hair on fire and we're like, go, 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 go all the time. It's really tough for us to notice the subtle vibration, the subtle energy of their presence when they're popping up in our energy field, either to comfort us or to guide us or to give us messages for us or for somebody else. So it's just something to think of. All right. So for today, I asked for messages from our angels about different topics to think about. And I also picked some tarot cards with some past, present, future kind of vibration. So I want to go through those right now. And for those of you who are new to the show, first, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And for those of you who are regulars, you know the drill. Each week, I try to get messages from Spirit that will be helpful to who's ever listening, whenever you're listening, right? So if you're watching and listening live tonight, something, hopefully, of these next couple of minutes of these messages from Spirit will resonate with you. But if you're watching tomorrow or listening a week from now or a year from now, they should still resonate with you, because that's the intention that we had when we asked Spirit for, let's get something that's meaningful for folks that are out there. So the first message or word from Spirit to think about is the word grace. And when I think about grace, what that means to me is it's a combination of love and patience and kindness, kind of all rolled up into one. It's like we give each other grace when we're like, okay, just take a breath. Don't assume the worst. Instead, assume the best. Give the person a little space, a little grace to figure things out or to explain. Grace is that sense of connectedness and a knowing that comes with that connection that says, oh, things are how they're supposed to be. And I have this assistance from the spiritual realms to help me get through whatever I'm going through. One of the examples I have, very profound example of grace in my life, was when my father was dying. He had a heart attack, and I was with him as he passed, and I'm doing CPR on him, and I could see this energy come down. It reminded me of the old Get Smart cone of silence, of this sparkling pranic energy field surrounded us, and I could see these little like gold particles lift up out of his heart and merge with that energy, and then kind of spiral up and gone. And I knew that was his soul joining, or his spirit joining whatever that was that came to come get him, basically. And as I was seeing that, the paramedics came and scooted me along, and they're working. And my mom shows up from church, and I tell her, no, Dad's gone. And she said, oh, no, he's young. He was only 46. And he used to run marathons and play golf and, very fit man. But I said, no, Mom, that happened. And I'm like, you go with the ambulance. I'll go call a couple people real quick. And then I look around the yard because it was outside in the backyard on a Sunday afternoon that he passed. And I don't know if you've all seen after paramedics kind of do their thing, but it's just there's stuff all over the place, right? Of course, they're not going to clean up, but I did not want my mom to come home to that kind of mess. So I go out there and I clean all that up. I let my dog out to go potty real quick. I actually put away a few things because it was going to rain that my dad was working on. And I drive into the hospital. And this whole time I'm like calm. I'm in this state of grace where I know what needs to be done. I get it done. I feel supported. I feel this connection to spirit. And the minute I walked into the emergency ward of the hospital and I see my mom come out and she's like, he's gone. It was like that state of grace kind of just burst. And then it was, okay, I'm back in this moment, this kind of normal sense of perceiving things. And of course, began crying and grieving. And, I love my dad and it was horrible for him to die so suddenly, but he also gave me a gift in his passing because I was able to perceive this amazing blending of his soul with spirit and as he died and went on. And so to me, it was pretty profound, but that state of grace in that moment, I was just thinking clearly. My energy was expanded. I knew what was right. I felt very supported. I did not feel alone. And it was just like, okay, just kind of going through those motions. And so that was a time in my life where I can really cite where I felt grace so strongly. And it was very palpable when it was on and when it finally went, and I say it broke, but that was like the feeling it was with. The next word that Spirit wanted me to talk to y'all about today and share is that of charity. And charity in the sense of love, like in the old, in the Bible or in different scriptures, they talk about charity is the love of one another, right? It is how we help each other. And I think in this day and age, charity has just become this more monetized, maybe. We help people through, throwing money at a problem or maybe donating things, right? That's charity, giving things. But the word charity is much more at the heart of the love that we feel for each other and that sense of prayers and energy and good feelings, the way that we send a part of ourself to help in a situation. And especially if it's somebody that we know who's hurting or is in need in some way. And so even charity, if we're in a situation ourselves and we're like, hey, I need help, right? Yeah, you know what? You can send me money. Yeah, you can send me stuff. But you know what really helps is that prayerful, energetic, healing support, like knowing that, hey, you're there. You're there to listen. You got my back. You're there for me, right? That's the kind of charity that this is about. It's that sense of deep love at a soul level that we have for each other and how we're meant to be there for each other, especially when somebody's going through a trial or tribulation in their life. And then the third word that came was peace. And peace is, boy, is it ever worth doing what we can to cultivate that sense of peace in our life? Because if we have that sense of preparedness, if we are doing our part, it is so much of a blessing in our own life that we get to feel peace. Like, okay, I can't control all the craziness going on around us. And by the way, I want you to notice over my which shoulder? That shoulder. Notice the water back there. I see the waves crashing in. I have the door closed because they're playing music by the pool. But a sense of peace, when there's a calm ocean. Well, there's always waves, right? The ocean is such a beautiful metaphor for peace. because there's times the ocean is rocking and rolling, man. I mean, the other day there was such a huge wind going on that the waves were just fierce and crashing. That was not peace, right? But now you look out, it's like these gentle little waves. And every once in a while, you can see them breaking. If you were listening, you just hear this just general shh kind of sound every once in a while. And it's so peaceful, right? Just to kind of tune in and watch the occasional seabird flying overhead. And I thought I saw some kind of dolphin or maybe a whale. I don't know. It was far enough out I couldn't really tell, but I could see the spray come up and I could see some kind of fin, but it was far enough away. I don't really know. But it was just the sense of peace of being in the moment, right? And so, yeah, it's easy to be at peace when you're on vacation in a beautiful place like Myrtle Beach here. However, it's really important in our lives to cultivate that sense of peace no matter where you are. So what brings you peace? Think about it. Is it walking your dog out in the field? Is it walking in nature? Is it playing in your garden? Is it kicking back with your favorite beverage and watching your sports team play? I don't know. What brings you a sense of peace? Snuggling up with a loved one, sitting by a fire with a fireplace, or a campfire with a book or with a guitar and singing and playing a song. Whatever it is, they don't have to be big and complicated, right? In fact, that's probably the opposite of peaceful. Peaceful things tend to be pretty simple, right? So think about what you can do to bring more of that sense of peace into your life. And if you think about your workplace or family situations, if there's contention or busyness, it's like, okay, how can you be a force for peace? If you kind of radiate this sense of peace, if you radiate this unconditional love and forgiveness and this sense of, hey, I'm going to be a positive force for good no matter what. I will always do the right thing. I will shine my light. I will share my gifts. I will be a benevolent force in the universe. I will leave a positive impact on everybody I touch and every interaction I have to the best of my ability. If that is your intention, if that is your vow and mantra, then you will have a positive impact on others. You will help others have a sense of peace. You will kind of talk people off the cliff or off the ledge, right? Because they got so involved in things that are outside of their control and think like, I can't take it anymore. It's like, no, you can help to bring them that sense of peace by reminding them that, hey, you have the power to decide how you will react to anything that occurs around you or in your life. That's the one thing we do have control over. How do we think about it? How do we feel about it? And how we act and respond to it, right? So if we kind of vow to ourselves, I always want to do the most peaceful, loving thing possible. I want to always be a shining light and be an example of goodness and making positive choices. Then you're able to inspire others. You can touch their lives in a way that is a beautiful reminder of what's possible, especially when they're feeling overwhelmed, right? It's hard to remember sometimes to take a breath even when you're in the middle of the chaos. And just even simply telling somebody, stop, breathe, just breathe. Take a deep breath in and breathe. And you're able to, make a shift and kind of like, okay, here we go, right? All right. So the 3 tarot cards that I chose for today, the first one, it's about the past, and this is the 6 of Pentacles. And remember, Pentacles is the suit that always talks about balance. When it's upside down, it's like, yep, you know what? We're out of balance sometimes. Whether it's with our relationships, with our health, with our finances, with our time, with our spiritual purpose and what we're doing in our life. Usually there's some part of us that's just been just out of whack, right? And so we need to really look at it. What the next card I chose, it's the 7 of Swords. And this is a reminder to be kind to yourself and to have balance in the tasks that you take on. My favorite thing about this one here is, like, obviously we don't carry swords around in this day and age, but most of us carry grocery bags, right? If we go shopping. And so this used to be me, 7 of Swords. I would pack mule myself. So if I had 7 bags of groceries, I would take as many as I could on that first trip and go in and then come back and get what was left. That was not smart. That wasn't kind. I knew I had to make at least 2 trips, so I should have divided the load equally and said, okay, I'll make 2 balanced loads. Or maybe be really kind to myself and say, I'll make 3 trips and make 3 light trips. Or even be even more kind and say, I'm going to make 1 light trip and get some help and have them help me carry the rest in, right? So the message of this card, because it's what's going on now, is how do we restore the sense of balance in our life when it comes to all of the things that we are doing or trying to do in our life? And so that is asking us to have that balance. And then the future card here, the Hermit upside down, is once we get ourselves in balance, then we can come out to the world. Because the Hermit is basically a card that has a pendulum swing. So when he's right side up, it's the Hermit that kind of goes away, goes into their cave, retreats, communes with spirit or nature, brings forth their art, their wisdom, their productivity, whatever it is. And then the pendulum swing goes the other way, and they become the teacher, the healer, the artist who comes out into the public to share whatever it was they just came up with while they were in that cave moment, right? That period of time where they had to kind of get away from everything else and come on back. So what this is reminding us, the sequence of cards, is saying this is a time to get yourself in balance, be kind to yourself, especially in balancing all of the things that you need to do in your life. And as you do that, it will allow you to come out into the world in a way to share much more of your wisdom, your gifts, your knowledge, your skills, whatever it is that you like to output into the world. You're much better able to do that from this place of balance and strength and even just kindness to yourself. Okay, I hope that made sense. Alrighty. I also grabbed my book, which is A Portal to Potential. Remember, this is available on Amazon for $10 US, and all proceeds go to the Monroe Institute Scholarship Fund. And all of the writings in this book, or actually I shouldn't say all, the vast majority of the writings in this book are channeled inspiration that came to me, and I was just basically taking dictation from spirit, right? As fast as I heard it, I'm writing it down, right? So there's a couple of sections where you have my thoughts on things, like thoughts on spirituality, or the preface where I kind of explain what happened. But the rest of it was all channeled. And so I cracked it open and asked, okay, what should I read today out of the book? And I got page 49, for those of you who have the book, if you want to read along at home. And the channeled work that came through is called The Vow. Excuse me. Okay. The Vow. I will shine my light and hold the space for all to return to the one. I will sing my song of creation with joy, with gratitude and love. Each soul I save is a part of me, reuniting with the whole, a joyful homecoming of our essence, remembering who we truly are. One of the phrases in here that really struck me was the homecoming of our soul. And I had a dream the day my mother was dying. I guess I'm sharing a lot of family stuff today. She and I were on vacation together. She had an accident, got injured, got airlifted to a hospital. I was stuck on the cruise boat because I couldn't get off with her because of the circumstance. And she wound up dying a few days later in the hospital in Ireland. And I was on the boat, and on the night leading into the day that she died, I had a dream. And in the dream, I saw my Uncle Mike, who was my mom's favorite brother-in-law. And he was at the Polish Community Center, which was a big party place in Yonkers where I grew up. And he's like, there's all these round tables in the room, and he's standing between the tables and the bar, and he's reaching over the bar and he's grabbing 2 bottles at a time and putting them from behind the bar onto different tables. And he sees me from across the room and he waves and he says, "Hey, honey, big homecoming today." Right. And then I wake up to the phone ringing, telling me my mom had died. And I will tell you, that dream gave me so much comfort to know that on the other side, from the spirit world perspective, it is a homecoming when somebody comes back to them, right? Because we are all children of the spirit world. We all were in spirit. We all were on that side of the veil at one point in time. We volunteered to come on down to have this experience as a spiritual being in a human form on earth during this time. And when we left, there was grieving on that side, right? Joy here when we're born. And then it's kind of the opposite when we go back, right? People here mourn our passing and miss us. But the folks on the other side, to them, it is this joyful homecoming of spirit. And so that little phrase in the book just reminded me of that dream and that moment. And it's like, wow, it's really about perspective, isn't it? You know, and wouldn't it be nice if we can all have that same joyfulness, whether spirits are coming or going? It's like, just be grateful that we've had that time to interact with, to love, to share with those particular beings on either side of the veil, right? So, all right. So that's what I wanted to share as far as messages today, as far as for the reading portion of the show here. I also wanted to talk a little bit about synchronicity when it shows up, and share another little story. And again, if you have a question or a topic that you want me to cover, please do put it in all caps in the chat, and then it'll pop up on the screen for me to see. And I'll certainly be happy to address and answer any questions or talk about any topics that are near and dear to your heart if you're watching, tune in live tonight. Okay. All right. So I wanted to share this other little story because I thought it was very telling about synchronicity. So here I am at Myrtle Beach, and I decided the room that I have, the suite that I have, has 2 bedrooms. So I thought, I should invite one of my relatives to come on down, if they can, and spend some time down here. And one of my relatives did. And, she came down. I picked her up at the airport on Sunday, and she stayed like 3 or 4 days. And it was wonderful, spend time together. And I realized I had never shared with most of my friends and relatives what I do, right? All of this talking to spirit and dealing with energy, like they kind of sort of knew I do something esoteric, but they had no idea. I hadn't shared most of my stories with her or with most of my friends and relatives. It's sort of like, it's like they say in the Bible, like you can't be a prophet in your hometown, right? If most of your friends and family know what you do, especially like if they think it's weird, it's like, they'd rather not know, right? So anyway, here I am. I'm in my 60s. And I've known this relative my whole life. And so we started telling her, I started with the story of, hey, on the drive down, you would not believe what happened. Because I was pumped. I'm sure you would be too, right? Getting these messages from spirit, making the phone calls, getting that validation back, like, wow, perfect timing, 3 for 3. I was definitely pumped up. So I share with her the story, and she says, wow, that's really cool. And I shared with her a few other things that have happened, different angel experiences I've had or energy experiences I've had. And she starts sharing with me some of the experiences she had in her life. And she said, now that she's retired, she wanted to learn how to open up more to be better able to perceive the messages from spirit and just be aware of angels or spirits or whatever, right? And I thought, wow, talk about synchronicity. I do what I do. I decide to invite her down. She says yes, comes here. We have this really deep sharing conversation and realize, hey, I do what you want to open up and learn how to do. I can help you. And so we started talking about, well, what are some fun ways to open up? But the synchronicity of it was like, that couldn't have been more perfect, right? Here she is wanting to learn a little bit more. And here I am saying, oh, I love to share. You all know I love to talk and tell stories and share. So it was so cool. And honestly, I feel closer to this relative now than I ever have. And I thought we were pretty close before. I almost thought of her as a sister, and grown up and known her all these years. And it's like, wow, like, how cool is that? And so what I wanted to share with you is, really pay attention to the synchronous moments, the synchronicities when, somebody, it just popped in like, oh, I should just invite this person. And when they say yes and show up, there's a reason behind that, so kind of be open and curious to explore like, I wonder why the timing is right now, and take advantage of those moments when they do happen for you in your life. And so one of the things I wanted to share with you, because you might be sitting out there saying, hey, I'd love to learn how to open up a little bit more. Geez, I'm really intuitive, or I've had some really crazy dreams that seem to have come true, or I've had premonitions, or my intuition is off the charts at times, or geez, I kind of sense sometimes my loved ones in spirit are here, but I'm not sure. So one of the things that's really easy to do, an easy way to open, is you can do this either very visually by just kind of drawing and kind of letting yourself draw pictures, and you don't have to be a great artist. You can just kind of doodle and kind of let spirit take you where it goes. Or if you're more verbal, you can get a piece of paper and start writing words down and ask a question and say, oh, what's the most important thing I need to know right now? And then you prime the pump where you start to write. The most important thing I need to be aware of right now is, and whatever pops into your mind, you write down. There'll be time to analyze it later, to judge it later, to critique it later. But in the moment, just go with it. Go with the flow. Just see what comes through. When you go to sleep at night, kind of put a program out that, hey, I'm going to remember my dreams, and my dreams will be more and more meaningful or significant, or I'll be a way for me to communicate and get messages. So you kind of program it ahead of time, and then on your bedside, on your bed table next to your bed, keep a journal, a notebook, a pen, something, your phone if you like to type in it, whatever makes sense, or a device. I'm old school. I like to write. That put down whatever you think of first thing in the morning when you wake up, whatever snippets of the dream you remember. And don't worry if you don't remember the whole thing, right? Just write down. And if you wake up in the middle of the night to pee and you just remembered you had a dream before that, write it down, right? Before you go back to bed, just write it down. And what will happen is over the course of several nights, several weeks, several months, it's like you're gathering pieces of the puzzle. And if you're really diligent with doing it, you're also sending a message to spirit saying, hey, this matters. I'm taking this seriously. I really want to get the message. I really want to know more about this, that, or the other thing. So those are some really easy ways to start with to open up. Now, another thing to think about is for some people, and I used to be this way, still am in some regards, it's a lot easier for me to get information in order to help somebody else than necessarily for myself. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. The most reasonable reason is that for myself, I have a vested interest in the answer. I can't be objective when it's information coming through for me for a topic that I care about. It's like why most readers don't read for themselves, Because like if I pick this card and I'm like, oh, I got this card for me, and what does this card mean? Well, each card has a dozen possible meanings. And if I am very hopeful for a certain outcome, subconsciously I might misread that card and try to force fit it into the answer that I want, right? So it's a lot easier to get clarity and be objective for messages coming through for somebody else than it is sometimes for messages that you're getting for you. So if you're trying to open up or expand your creativity or expand your connection to spirit or expand your ability to channel, one of the ways to do it is to ask for information for another person that you care about, that you love, that would be open to be getting the information. So it might be, what's the most important thing I need to know about my cousin at this point? Or what's the most important thing I need to know about my son or daughter at this point? Or my friend at work at this point? Or what's the most important thing I need to know about how to resolve the conflict at work? Or how can I bring more peace to this situation? Or how can I demonstrate more grace in this situation? So asking questions that are not ones that have such a subjective, personal vested interest in the answer or outcome for you, it's a way to really open up that can sometimes be a little easier, and you can feel like you get that flow a little faster, a little easier, a little clearer, because it's not being muddled isn't exactly the right word, but it's not being interfered with by your own opinions, your own desires, your own subjectivity about the whole message that's coming through. So it really allows you to be in a more open, clear space as a channel going on. Does that make sense? I hope so. Yes. Okay. Also, other ways to open. Sometimes it's important just to kind of be relaxed and have a spirit of curiosity and playfulness. It doesn't have to be big and heavy, right? It can just be, okay, so let's say I'm going to let spirit kind of help me draw a picture. And I'm just going to kind of go with the picture. And then it's like, okay, so maybe the first words that I decide I'm going to channel will be, what's the significance of this picture? Why did I draw that picture? Or why did you bring through that picture? Right? And just see what comes through. Right? So it's nothing that's very weighty or heavy or has a huge significance to it. It's just playful curiosity and getting used to, how do you communicate with spirit? How do you open up and hear the promptings or see the visuals or just have the knowing of what the information is that wants to come through? All right. I think I will use this as an opportunity to talk about a retreat that I am offering in Sedona this May, May 16, 17, 18, 2025 in Sedona, Arizona. Myself and our wonderful friend, mystic and Western shaman, Craig Gingulis, is going to be co-leading a retreat with me. It's called Preparing for Ascension. And the whole point of it is learning to do some of the things I just talked about: how to open up, how to communicate with spirit, how to raise your energy, how to really fine tune your intuition, learn about your spiritual gifts, enhance your spiritual gifts, and figure out how you can become the best possible version of yourself to be prepared for whatever the future brings. And so I highly recommend, if you have any interest at all in learning about these kind of things, then please go to aletheajacob.com, which is my website. And there is a link right on the homepage or landing page there that says happening soon. Click on that and you can get more information about the whole retreat. And again, I'm a really big believer in empowerment here, guys. To me, it is worth our time, our energy, our effort to do what we can to become that best possible version of ourselves. And maybe a retreat's not the way you do it. Maybe you take classes, maybe you do a lot of meditation and prayer, maybe you get yourself physically fit. I mean, there's so many different aspects, right, that we all have of what makes us strong, what helps us shine our light, what helps us be the best possible version of ourselves, as well as what allows us to express the creativity and the purpose of our soul and fulfill the destiny for which we were born. There's a reason we're here. Every one of us has a reason for being here. We have a mission, a purpose. We have something that was intended when we volunteered and said, okay, let me come down from the spirit world. Let me be born into a body. Let me be a human having this experience on earth right now. There was a purpose to it. There is a purpose to your life. And so many of us go through our day sort of on autopilot that we forget, like, oh, we forget if we even have a soul, right? We forget we have a spirit half the time. We have a personality, but we're like, yeah, we go, we do. And it's like, whoop, wait a minute, time out. Are you feeling joy? Are you feeling fulfillment? Are you on the path to becoming the best possible you want to manifest, but you just aren't that person yet? And every day you're taking a step closer or becoming a little bit more, embracing and embodying more and more of that person, fulfilling the full measure of your creation, right? Or are you going through life saying, oh, this doesn't feel right. No, you know what? I think I'm supposed to be doing something else, or I don't feel fulfilled, or I don't feel happy, or I don't feel joy or peace. So like, wake up, right? You don't have to stay in those states of unrest and frustration. You can do something about it. And the nice thing is it doesn't require you having to go anywhere. It starts with you right here, tuning in, paying attention, making decisions that serve you, that serve your soul, that serve the purpose, and just trying to figure it out. And it's a lot easier than you think to figure it out. What brings you joy? That's a clue. Where do you feel most at home? Where do you feel the most peace? Where do you feel your heart expand and feel love and contentment? What things are you doing when you feel most connected to other people around you, feel connected to something greater than self, feel like you're bringing through creativity, productivity, whatever it is that serves you as you serve others, as you go out into the world and have experiences? What are those things? Do more of those and less of the things that make you feel shut down, cold, disconnected, right? So little by little, it's a process. It's like losing weight. For anybody who's ever been, 100 pounds overweight or more, right? It's like, it's a step at a time. It's a pound at a time. It's, little by little. Or anybody who wants to learn how to run a marathon. You don't just go out there and run 26 miles first day, right? You have to train, you have to strengthen, you have to, little by little, you go after it. You start small, right? Maybe you do a 5K as your first race. You don't jump right into the marathon. So being kind to yourself, being loving, being forgiving. Oops, I fell off the wagon. Oops, I meant to do that more. Oops, it's been a while since I meditated. Oops, it's been a while since I worked out. Oops, it's been a while since I painted or sang or danced or fulfilled my soul in some way. Okay, but you just remembered that. So what are you going to do about it? Put on your schedule something that will bring you joy, something that will allow you to expand and express more of who you truly are as that being of light, that person who cares, that person who loves, the person, that soul who is committed to making a positive impact in the world and leaving a legacy of a life well lived, a life that made a difference. And the difference might have been just in the cats and dogs that you had as your pets, or the family that you raised, or the work environment and the colleagues that you inspired. Or maybe it's your church community or your whole extended community. Or maybe you are somebody that will touch the lives of tens of hundreds or thousands or millions, because your energy and desire brought you to the right place at the right time, and somebody saw you and said, hey, we need more of that out in the world. And next thing you know, you're shining your light big time and inspiring others and helping others. You know, I truly believe, folks, that we're meant to be of service in our life. And service doesn't have to be a capital S. It can be the little s, the quiet service of doing those random acts of kindness, shining your light, being a voice for reason in a somewhat crazy world, and truly just doing your best to be as unconditionally loving and forgiving of yourself and of others that you meet along the way. And I think if we all did that, the world would be a little bit more of a benevolent place, and things would just, we can make things better in our own life and in the lives of others. And so that's the homework, guys. Okay, till I see you next time. You know, thank you so much for joining me in for this hour. I hope it uplifted you a little bit. I hope you got some ideas of things to try. But mostly, I hope it inspired you to just be your best self and be kind when you have an oops, because we all have oopses. But be kind to others, be loving, and have a great week. And thank you so much for joining in. God bless. And have a great time out there. Do good in the world. Thanks. Bye now.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.